So welcome to chapter 1. So here I will discuss, I will rather give a recap of the Balakot airstrike, what has happened, what we learned from that airstrike, and obviously what are the doctrines that we have adopted after that post Balakot airstrike, and that's very critical to understand the current context of Operation Sindoor. Right? So that's how I will do. So what has happened on 2019, right? So it was, we had a terrorist attack where 40 of our CRPF Jawan got martyred. And then we actually executed Balakot airstrike. Now, the essence of Balakot airstrike was that we did identify a couple of targets, not only Balakot, but Muridke was also targeted, or means planned to be targeted. The challenge we faced during the Balakot airstrike was the standoff versus standoff distance versus going or crossing the LOC or international border. Let's call it international border for our purpose, but actually it's an LOC, right? Now, this is a dilemma because this will be a bone of contention in the diplomatic warfare post Balakot airstrike, right? So we have not crossed LOC after 1971 war. So that was the first time we did, right? That's one. The challenge of the Balakot airstrike was that we didn't have standoff weapon. Standoff weapon means that I remain within our borders realm, right? Within our border realms, and I target enemies terrorist camp. It may be terrorist camp, it may be military base, whatever, right? So I have an advantage if I have a standoff distance. I don't have to cross my borders. So that's very important. And we actually lack that capability, that standoff capability, because we don't have standoff weapon, precision weapon. Let's call it standoff precision weapon, right? So that can inflict enough damage to the targets. So that's one. Second, we do not have any kind of carrier. Like, for example, Mirage was identified for carrying those spies, 2000 bomb, but we don't have that. We didn't have that carrier to kind of carry that or create that kind of standoff execution. So that was the second problem. We identified Muridke also. Muridke was almost 100 kilometers because that time the entire conspiracy of Pulwama was actually carried out from Muridke. And we had, RAW has provided enough intel for that. We actually created two teams, Team A, Team B. Team A actually worked on Balakot because we know, or the intel has provided all the information that all the 1,000 terrorists, around 1,000 terrorists from those launching pads across LOC was being put to Balakot, which is a very militarized complex, terrorist complex, right? Let's call it military terrorist complex. So we know that that's one target, number one. So, but we have to kind of also attack or kind of target Muridke, because from there it was actually the conspiracy was hatched, right? So that's how we thought that we'll do it. But in the Cabinet Committee of Security meeting, Parliamentary Affairs meeting, I guess Modi asked, or PM asked that to the armed forces and to the military intelligence that can we hit that that target Muridke, because it's quite far from Indian border. So we have to cross almost 100 kilometers, and which is not. So Balakot is within POK or Pakistan occupied Kashmir, but Muridke is in Pakistan, pure Pakistan. So it's very close to Lahore, right? So it's almost 100 kilometers from Indian border. So is it possible to do that? So that was one of the problem we had, because we don't have that degree of precision weapon, deep striking precision weapon, and the carrier. And we have to cross, our plane has to cross and go towards Lahore and drop the bombs and come back. So that's a very difficult task. So that entire team, we worked on Muridke, but finally Modi took a call that no, we should not go to Muridke because it has a collateral damage, significant collateral damage. Some of our pilots might not return, right? That's one of the perspective um, which actually Modi struck that, like we cannot do that. That's a problem. So we actually finalized the target number one, which is Balakot. So we use Strike 2000 bomb, which is a penetrating bomb, which has a range of 30 to 60 kilometer based on what type of warheads we are picking. It's a penetrator bomb. We hit that target and we came back unscratched, right? So there's no collateral damage. The next day, Pakistan Air Force actually attacked us in our borders. So they call it Operation Retort, and they came to us with 26 aircrafts, a combination of F-16, JF-17, and old Mirage, and they drop a ASRAM, right, air to surface missile from F-16, which is a disabled SRAM. It's a intentionally disabled because they don't want to escalate the ladder. And they just came to just throw that in our army base to tell their domestic audience that okay, we did something, right? That's the pressure of politics. And we took that bomb and we told the world, see, the F-16, which was given by US to Pakistan for using that against terrorism in Afghanistan, was used against an ally country, right? That's what we told. And they were in a soup, right? In diplomatic parlance, they are in a soup in a diplomatic warfare. So that's how they learned that. So next, what has happened, right? When they attacked us, we also chased them. And Abhinandan, that episode, the Abhinandan went and chased an F-16 and actually fired a R-77 BVR missile and downed that F-16. And when we were responding that, and he went towards Pakistan or POJ, inside POJ, and he didn't realize that because in cockpit radar or the aircraft radar, there's no demarcation between Pakistan and India. It all is all transmitted through the ground radar, right? The ground radar communication or radio transmission. Now he did that and he forgot that, or he didn't realize that he's in Pakistan. And there was some communication that was provided by the ground radar that you are in Pakistan, you have to return back. But he couldn't listen because his entire radio transmission is jammed by Pakistan. That time we didn't have software-defined radio. So one of the anti-aircraft gun caught him, and his Bison was downed, and he ejected, and he was caught. So he was captured, right? Now, after what the real drama happened. So they are unwilling to release him, and we were taking all sort of diplomatic domain to kind of fetch him from Pakistan. Military obviously was not there that time. Military domain was not used that time. It was purely a diplomatic domain. When diplomatic domain didn't work, so when diplomatic collaboration didn't work across the friendly countries and pressurizing Pakistan, so we told that we have almost enabled 500 BrahMos that will hit their all military targets if they don't release him by 8 p.m. next day, right? And it was called from Foreign Office of India, and Bajwa got that call, Pakistan chief, army chief, and his legs were trembling, right? We know that all incident because that was being elaborated, enunciated by Pakistan that time PM, Mr. Imran Khan in Parliament. So he actually illustrated that how that happened, and Bajwa's leg was trembling when he heard that there's 50 BrahMos being targeted, right? That's how we see that.
पायलट हमने पकड़ा हुआ है, हम एज ए पीस जेस्टर हम उनको उसको कल रिहा करने लगे हैं हिंदुस्तान को वापस।
मुझे याद है शाह महमूद कुरैशी साहब उस मीटिंग में थे जिसमें प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब ने आने से इनकार कर दिया और चीफ ऑफ आर्मी स्टाफ तशरीफ लाए। पैर कांप रहे थे, पसीने माथे पे थे और हमसे शाह महमूद साहब ने कहा, फॉरेन मिनिस्टर साहब ने, कि खुदा का वास्ता है अब इसको वापस जाने दें, क्योंकि 9 बजे रात को हिंदुस्तान पाकिस्तान पे अटैक कर रहा है।
And then that evening, before 8 p.m., they released Abhinandan. So that's a victory, diplomatic as well as military victory. Actually it's a military victory. We don't estimate that, but it comes under the domain of diplomatic victory. But it's a military victory. So that deterrence we have created with BrahMos. So that's one. So next day, what happened? So we did that, and obviously, everything was fine, and that ceasefire was there, and all things were calming down. So after that, Galwan happened, right? After that, Galwan happened, and we realized that we have a lot of shortcomings in our military. Modernization is required. If I take these two aspects, that Balakot strike as well as Galwan, there's a lot of things that happen. So what are those, right? If I just go one by one. One is obviously, if I take that, we don't have any deep strike precision capability, right? We don't have the ammunition, we don't have the arms. So we need an aircraft that can carry deep strike precision weapon. So that's number one. So we bought Rafale. We didn't have that time deep strike ammunition. We had Spice, but Spice range is quite low. And accuracy is also quite low because it's CEP, like circular error probability is 3 meters, right? So that's quite huge in terms of precision warfare. Now, what we did after that was obviously we bought Rafale, and Rafale came with, we used one of the critical missile is Scalp, right? That's a long range precision weapon. So that's how we plug the gap of having a precision, deep strike precision weapon and also carrier. Buying a Rafale, we did in 2000. Right? That's number one. Number two problem we had was with the software defined radio. If we had software defined radio that time, Abhinandan's radio transmission would have they couldn't have jammed that, right? So that's the second priority we had, and we almost now currently, while I'm talking, we have actually converted all our aircraft that will possess the SDR, software defined radio. So almost 80% is done. The frontline aircrafts, like all sort of frontline aircrafts. So that's number two gap we had, and we plugged that gap. Number three will be, I believe that real-time satellite. So that was one area which probably we have a gap. So we actually, ISRO has helped us in those aspects, and we have kind of launched few of them, and which has a significant decent resolution and real-time data. But still we have the gap. We don't have pure high resolution all-weather satellites, which we are planning to launch by 2028, or like around 8 or 9 of them, so that we have a constellation of satellites which is capable of doing all weather, all type electromagnetic, infrared, then seeking kind of data, everything that is required for a military warfare, right? Identifying the edge detection, which will have on real-time edge detection technique, which can give a real-time data on whether there is some kind of change in build-up in the military formation, right? So that's one, we are trying to do that. So that's one. There is one incident during this Operation Retort, which Pakistan did, that we actually did a friendly fire. So there was a Air Force Mi-17 helicopter, which was shot by the Army Air Defense. It's entirely Indian, right? When there's this fog of war going on. So, so there's a problem in that because we didn't integrated the Army Air Defense as well as with a tri-service, like all the Army, Air Force, and Navy Air Defense system into single element. So that we have done. We have created integrated command and control services, or the platform ICCS, which did wonderfully well in Operation Sindoor. That Akash combination of Akash, the command center, everything actually was seamless. So everyone knows what is happening. There's no confusion. So that we built and we plugged that gap, right? So air defense system, we plugged the gap along with S-400, Akash, SAMs, then MR SAMs, Barak, the small legacy firing units and all those things. We'll cover those in episode 2, what we did, but just to kind of let you know. So we did plug that gap, air defense. We created a tri-service single theatic command center, right? We have Western Theatic Command, Northern Theatic Command, Eastern and Southern, right? So we actually integrated Air Force, Navy, and Army together under a single umbrella, tri-service synergy, to get a tri-service synergy. That's another important thing. And obviously we have created a military affairs in the Department of Military Affairs in our cabinet, and giving them as a cabinet portfolio, and CDS holding that portfolio provides a benefit that, okay, initially what was happening, that there's a lot of gaps between the bureaucracy, PMO, and obviously the military. Now, somebody with some military parlance, with some political parlance, has to bridge that gap. So CDS and its military affairs wing is doing that. So that is another gap we have plugged. And obviously there are certain things on the doctrine side, I will discuss on the doctrine side what we have done before Operation Sindoor. So after Galwan, after this incident, Pakistan also actually identified their mistakes. So they know that they don't have any kind of new generation fighter assets. So they have upgraded their GF-17, which was Block 1. They have upgraded to Block 2 or Block 3, which is quite advanced. And they have also bought J-10C, right? So that is another 4.5 generation fighter aircraft. So they know that they want that thing. They also advanced on BVR capability, beyond visual range capability. Now they have EL-15E, which has a capability of around 150. They also had F-16 AMRAAM, which was AMRAAM AIM-120C probably. So it has a range of 110, but they have extended to 140 kilometers. So always one area where always they have had, whatever you can say, edge over India. Right now, they also have edge over India is on the BVR capability, beyond visual range. The problem with India is that we have bought Rafale on 2020, and we got that serial supply of the Rafale. Neither Rafale, what I know, that neither Rafale, the Indian version, as well as that directly flown from France, had the Meteor 1 missile, which has a range of 140 kilometers. So we have the maximum BVR, that is R-77 Russian missile, and Mica, which also has a similar range, 70 kilometers. So 70 kilometers and 70 kilometers. So Rafale will have a 70 kilometer range. Sukhoi will have a 70 kilometer VVR range. Mirage will have 70 kilometer VVR range. So, but they generally have 110 F-16, and after getting PL-15E, they have 140 kilometers. So before the Operation Sindoor start, we are in a disadvantageous position that we have a lower VVR capability compared to them, and still now we have that. Post Operation Sindoor, we know that they have a 250 kilometer PL-15. So they have 250 kilometer PL-15, and we are targeting to integrate that Meteor missile. And we have ordered some Meteor 2 missile, version 2, but still Meteor 1 is not there. So this is a frustration probably with the government. Our Air Force has tried multiple times to integrate. There's a poorly coordinated way which has kind of given this disadvantage. Still now in 2025, we have a VVR capability of 70 kilometers. It's like we are third in the world in Air Force after US and Russia, as per new ranking, but still our VVR capability is 70 kilometers. That's very, very unfortunate. So I have covered all these things, and yeah, Pakistan has learned that they need good aircraft. They also bought HQ-9 air defense system, so they have actually got all the HQ-9 all the air defense being integrated with their all air assets and ground assets. When I say air assets, it's like air early warning, aircraft early warning system, which is AWACS, as well as other integration being done with the ground radar and J-10 and JF-17, right? So they have done pretty well. Now to test the water, I know most of us know that I don't remember the exact time after HQ-9 is being installed in Pakistan, we did a test, right? Not test, I will say it's a disguise, right? So we actually fired a blank BrahMos, and the BrahMos was in Pakistan airspace for almost 3 minutes, or more than 3 minutes, not 3 minutes, more than 3 minutes, and they couldn't intercept. The newer HQ-9 couldn't intercept. That was, India has commented as that, okay, it's a mistake from our side, and they have court-martialed one IF person. But actually, that's a test they have done to see whether their HQ-9 is capable to handle BrahMos. And that test has given some data to us in the Sindoor that, okay, this is the point where India have the edge, that once it comes to super speed based missile warfare, then probably we have an edge over them. So that's how they also kind of the changing scenario has changed both India and Pakistan in their warfare and strategy, and how they procure different kind of assets and what is their counter challenges for that, and we have determined those doctrines. So that's how I will complete this chapter. In next chapter I will cover the doctrines what we have adopted before Operation Sindoor.